when they came up for warm-ups. I did watch them during the national anthem. You could see the Notre Dame players shifting their weight from side to side. A lot of energy.
It was their worst loss of the year last year, which was a great year for Notre Dame. ACC tournament champions went to the Elite Eight, but they lost by 30 points in this building, 90-60. Duke with the opening possession.
Starting the game off, Steve Vastoria on Grayson Allen. Vastoria is Notre Dame's best defender.
Allen gets free behind a screen and knocks it down.
Vastoria just fell down a little bit, and that's where Grayson Allen statistically is at his best. When he is a catch-and-shoot player, he's an excellent driver. But you let him catch and get his feet set, and he knocks shots down at a really high rate.
Duke is making more threes per game than any team in the ACC, and both teams are shooting right around 39% from beyond the arc, so that could be a big part of deciding today's game. Matt Ryan, the freshman, just moved into the starting lineup during the week against Georgia Tech. This is his first attempt.
Notre Dame wants to get into a half-court game. They don't want this game to be too fast. If it's up and down, huge advantage for Duke.
Luke Kennard with a three, and the Blue Devils off to a great early start.
Well, that's why Luke Kennard is in the starting lineup. Matt Jones moves back to the point guard position. He's their best leader. And Derek Thornton now coming off the bench, the young freshman.
Still Notre Dame ball after the deflection by Ingram.
Matt Jones, the best defender for the Blue Devils, on Demetrius Jackson. That's a key matchup in this game because Jackson is an excellent scorer at the guard spot.
Lob inside, tipped away by Plumlee. Duke ball. Kennard got out to a slow start this season, but playing better and better, becoming more and more a part of the offense, averaging just about 12 points per game now. Ingram guarded by V.J. Beacham.
And that's an important matchup as well. Beacham was challenged with this matchup by Mike Bray to take on Brandon Ingram.
Kennard switches hands and floats it in with the right. It's an 8-0 lead for Duke.
You know, Kennard averaged 38 points a game in high school. He was Ohio's Mr. Basketball, and you think he's just a shooter, but he can really drive it. He's got a great feel and an excellent passer as well.
Boy, the last thing that Mike Bray wanted to see. 2 minutes in, 8-0 already. Jackson with a little stutter step, and he lays it in.
Well, that's what Mike Bray wants to see, just a little more flow, and he wants to see his two guards, Vastoria and especially Jackson, attacking more. Those guys have to score, and they can open some things up for their teammates, but they've got to be in the mindset of going out and getting 25.
Allen off the glass, too strong, and down with the rebound is August. Jackson, a junior, having a great year for the Irish. August inside with the left hand, doesn't get the roll. Kennard down with the rebound, has it tipped away and stolen by Ryan. And now Ryan called for the offensive foul.
Boy, that's a great play by Luke Kennard. Ryan made his mind up after making a great steal that he was just going to drive that, drop that right shoulder, and went right into Luke Kennard. That's a terrific play by Kennard on a broken play after he lost the ball.
6-point lead early for the Blue Devils, less than 3 minutes in. Marshall Plumlee's had a couple of big games lately, establishing career highs in scoring and rebounding. Kennard off the back of the iron and down with the rebound of Astoria.
That's that elbow series that Duke likes to run. A lot of people call it a horn series. But they have a lot of different options out of it. They can isolate Brandon Ingram at the elbow and let him go one-on-one against his matchup.
August won't look for the jump shot from beyond the foul line. And back out to Jackson with 10 to shoot. Jones staying with him. Another screen by August. Now he rolls, finishes, and is fouled.
That's what Zach August does best. He can really move his feet. He's not a low post guy. You're not going to throw him the ball with his back to the basket and have him make a bunch of Olajuwon moves. He's a terrific pick and roll, pick and dive offensive player. And that was excellent use of the pick and roll. Just a little bit slow by Luke Kennard getting over from the weak side to be there on the catch.
Misses the free throw. August 63% on the season. Duke with the first 8 points of the game. The Irish have the last 4. There's the first good look now for Ingram, and he is fouled. Michael Stevens making the call. He is joined by Brian Dorsey and Louis Andrikakos as the officiating crew today.
See, that was an example of Duke trying to isolate Brandon Ingram one-on-one against Beacham. They cleared the side. He got the ball right on the elbow and was able to go one-on-one, picked up the foul.
First on Beacham. Beecham on Allen right now. Vastoria's on Ingram at the moment. Hand off to Allen. Beecham got a hand in there. Still Duke ball. Allen the kick. Matt Jones. Nice shot fake. Kicks it back out. Stolen by Ryan.
A good defense by Notre Dame. Very active.
August running the floor. Can't finish over Plumlee.
Should have gone up right away. He let Plumlee recover to him, and then Plumlee was physical with him, and August didn't handle that physicality well.
Ingram spinning, finishing, and heading to the line. He's averaging better than 20 points per game in his last 10 games. And the freshman with a terrific move here to give Duke a 6-point lead. Ingram will be at the free throw line when we come back. The Blue Devils off to a solid early start.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Buick, proud partner of the NCAA, and Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, the perfect combination of chocolate and peanut butter.
Welcome.
How you doing?
Good. How are you? So today.
Back at Cameron, Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, Shannon Spake, and Brandon Ingram heading to the free throw line. Look at these numbers as the freshman has been sensational over the last 10 games. And a change in position or a change in role, Jay, they'd love to have Emil Jefferson back. He's been out with a broken foot for 8-9 games now. But in his absence, Ingram has taken his game to another level.
He has, and he's just improved overall. He's a multi-dimensional scorer. Now he's knocking down threes, and they've been able to isolate him where he can go one-on-one. But he went to the 4 spot where he gets a lot of positive matchup advantages, where 4 men have to come out and guard him. It's really difficult for him. Great job by Luke Kennard to help down.
Bonzie Colson follows up his own miss. He's checked in because V.J. Beecham has 2 fouls now. There is still no timetable for the return of Emil Jefferson, and without Jefferson, Duke is really thin right now. Basically 6 players. Chase Jeter is supposed to be the 7th, but he hasn't played much. He hasn't played well. He's gotten in a lot of foul trouble, and Mike Krzyzewski has not been able to go to Jeter on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's been difficult. I mean, Mike Krzyzewski has referred to his team as limited. I don't think he's saying the players necessarily limited, but they're limited in number, and they've got some guys that aren't there yet, and he uses the term yet. The Chase Jeter is just a freshman. He's a young player. He's going to get there. He's just not there yet.
Kennard off the inbounds, and the lead is back to 7. Kennard has 7 already.
Well, this is a different kind of lineup, more conventional lineup than Mike Ray would like to play right now. It's basically 3 around 2 big guys. And it's difficult, a little bit more difficult to spread the floor with the 2 bigs in at the same time. Last game, and he was hoping, I think, in this game to use them in sub one of them for the other, but that makes it more difficult.
Boy, if you're Bonzie Colson, what do? You get too close to Ingram, he's going to try to drive by you. You give him some space, he's going to take a 3.
And that's the advantage of having him at the 4 spot. Now, the flip side, he's got to guard Bonzie Colson down into the post, and if you can go to Colson, maybe get a foul or 2 on Ingram, he might have to back off a little bit, but on the offensive side, it's advantage Ingram because he's hitting 3 threes per game in ACC play. He is really stretching his game out and stretching the floor.
Vastoria tries to stretch the floor and gets the friendly roll here at Cameron.
That kid is such a gamer. The best defender on this Irish squad. He's not the type of guy that's going to go out right now and get you 30, 25. But, you know, consistently, he's going to get you 14, 15 every game, and he's going to make all the right decisions.
Now the switch, Allen driving on Colson, and Colson called for the foul.
There was a switch between Vastoria and Colson's 6'5", but his arms go forever. And that looked like a clean block up top. Maybe he got him with the lower body.
You can see West Virginia and Oklahoma coming up after us here on ESPN2. What a week it would be for West Virginia if they can go beat the Sooners on the heels of their win over Kansas. I mean, we talk about the ACC and the great strength in this league. The Big 12, obviously, Jay, has some of the elite teams in college basketball as well.
And West Virginia is so difficult to play against because they are relentless in their full court pressure. And you get them into a half-court game, as Virginia did in the second half in Madison Square Garden. And West Virginia found it difficult to score consistently because Virginia didn't turn the ball over. But most teams are going to turn the ball over, and West Virginia is going to make you pay on the other end by scoring quickly.
If you had to pick a Wooden Award winner today, is it Buddy Hield?
Buddy Hield would be today, yeah.
Floater by Vastoria. Notre Dame trying to weather the early storm. They were down 8-0 at the beginning. It's 18-13 Duke now.
Well, Mike Bray will tell you, and did tell us, I mean, you're not going to get out of Cameron Indoor Stadium with a win unless you score. I mean, they're not going to hold Duke down to under 70 points or something, you're going to have to put points on the board.
Kennard had that shot altered by Rex Pfluger, a freshman from Dana Point, California, who's just checked in. That was him taking the three. The Irish are not that deep as well. They'll bring a couple of young players off the bench. How about the drive by Grayson Allen, who's headed to the line with a chance for three.
You got a player that comes into the game all fired up. Rex Pfluger took not a bad shot, but just in that situation, not the best shot. And when you miss one that early, it allows Duke to take it the other way, and your defense isn't set. And you wind up committing somewhat of a weak foul in transition, giving Duke a three-point play opportunity.
Foul on Jackson, his first.
You asked about Buddy Hield and the Wooden Award. I'll tell you what, Grayson Allen has made a pretty good claim to be in that upper level of players that are competing for that award, because he has been outstanding all season long.
Vastoria again. He's got 8.
Does he ever get rattled?
Doesn't look like it.
I wonder what Vastoria looks like when he's mad or scared or never changes expression. Huh?
The hair never moves. He doesn't sweat. Here's an offensive foul on Grayson Allen.
See, that's a bad call. He slid right underneath him. I mean, Mike Krzyzewski is right on this one. He slid right underneath him. That's not close. That's not close. But I think this is our obligatory mention of that's a difficult call. The charge block is the hardest call in basketball.
Krzyzewski agrees with you. That was Pfluger who came in and got credit for taking the charge. And Mike Krzyzewski still pleading his case with Brian Dorsey.
Well, it's not going to change.
No.
He's right, but he's right. And those are difficult. I mean, I was joking around. It's difficult, but that one was not difficult. That was an easy one, and they blew it. Notre Dame really trying to spread the floor. Anytime you can get, I think, this guy, Demetrius Jackson, in ball screen situations, he is so good with the ball.
He's so crafty in the paint, too, as he knocks down another one. Jackson, and now with 6. He may have been overshadowed a little bit only because Jaron Grant and Pat Connaughton were on the team. 2 outstanding seniors. But Demetrius Jackson, make no mistake, is one of the best point guards in America.
No question. I mean, he's in the top 5 in virtually every guard offensive category in the league. And he plays like 37 minutes a game.
Ryan called for the foul on the jumper by Ingram. That'll be the second on Matt Ryan.
And at the end of that play, I thought Brian Dorsey took the charge. His feet were set when Brandon Ingram ran him over.
Let's check in with Shannon.
Well, guys, Mike Bray did say one of the bright points from last year's loss here at Cameron was the fact that Demetrius Jackson found his voice, is what Bray said. At one point in the first half, he grabbed the guys in the huddle and started yelling at them and really set the tone for the rest of the season. He said it was huge in his leadership. And right here, you see him talking to the guys during the last timeout. You see it every step of the way with Jackson.
You know, Zach August is a senior. He's a co-captain as well, but it really feels like on the court, Jay, like this is Jackson's team.
I think it is his team, and Shannon's point is a great one. That Mike Bray was talking before the game about making Steve Vastoria a captain, because Vastoria and Jackson are playing all the minutes together, and so now Demetrius Jackson feels like he's got a cohort out there that's helping him lead. I think it's helped the both of them. Because those are 2 excellent basketball players, and you can name somebody a captain. It doesn't mean that they're going to function as a leader. And I think both those guys have learned to function as leaders.
So here's Vastoria, and Mike Bray talking about him before the game. He's got the baby face, but he's their best defender. He's got a high IQ. He can pass, he can shoot, he can guard. He helps them in so many different ways. As Plumlee goes to the bench.
Dan, one of the things when you come into Cameron Indoor Stadium that you have to do as a visitor is you got to weather storms. And there was a storm that hit right away. Notre Dame got down, what was it, 8-0 early?
Yep.
And they weathered the storm.
Yep.
I mean, it's a 1-point game. They've got to feel a lot more comfortable right now about themselves. And that they're in this game with a chance.
And Jay, Sean Obi is into the game for Plumlee. So the first big off the bench today is Obi, not Chase Jeter. Ingram from the corner, a 3 and a foul.
Notre Dame is switching everything on the perimeter. Got caught on a switch. Defender turns his head, and Brandon Ingram makes him pay in the corner. This is a A different dimension that he has shown over the last 10-12 games. Brandon Ingram as the three-point shooter.
Welcome.
How you doing?
In the ACC, a lot of teams and a lot of quality teams. North Carolina is the only team that is remaining undefeated in conference play. Clemson is 4-1 so far on the season in league play, and Anthony Barber is leading the league in scoring. 3 games are already in the books here today, with North Carolina beating NC State 67-55. Kennedy Meeks with 23. Trevor Cooney knocked down 6 threes today. Syracuse blew out Wake Forest 83-55 at Wake. And Jay, Virginia Tech with a road win, 78-77 at Georgia Tech. Virginia Tech is now 4-1 in the ACC.
Well, good starts, and it's important to get off to a good start. It is not deadly if you don't. But you remember last year at this time? Last year at this time, Duke was 2-2. They got blown out on this floor by Miami. And it seemed like the world was coming to an end. And Duke went on the road and played at Louisville, played a 40 minutes of 2-3 zone. Wound up winning that game and later went on to win the national championship. Now, they don't have that kind of personnel this year. I don't see that as happening. But they're certainly not going to be the same team they are now at the end of the year if they stay healthy.
Bonzi Colson knocks down a jumper. Mike Bray was talking to us about his team being 2-2 in the league. And he said, you know what, if you're 500 in the league, you're hanging around, you're in the conversation. And Mike Krzyzewski said many similar kinds of things with the strength of the league. He feels for his team to do well this year, they're going to have to grind out every win, cherish every win they can get in the league.
I think they're both looking at it the same way. And boy, what a play Bonzi Colson just made at the other end on that drive by Marshall Plumlee. Colson is he's only 6'5", but his arms go forever, and he's got a great feel.
Matt Jones absorbs the contact, can't finish. Tipped into the hands of Pfluger. Nice bounce pass, Colson. Oh! Brandon Ingram smothered it.
What a block by the long arms of Brandon Ingram. From one long wingspan to another. That's a 7-foot wingspan. That's a 7'3" one. Just pinned against the backboard. That's a big-time play. And he had to hesitate before he went up. He timed that out. Boy, that's a big-time play by Ingram.
Ingram guarded by Pfluger right now. Pfluger getting a lot of early minutes. Allen misses the 3. Vastoria the board.
Boy, without Emil Jefferson in the lineup, offensive rebounds are few and far between for Duke unless they get a long one.
Thornton on Jackson. Jackson for 3. In and out. And Ingram had a foot out of bounds when he wrestled that rebound away, so it's Notre Dame ball. Hey, coming up on Big Monday at 7 Eastern, it'll start right here. Part of my home court week as Duke hosts Syracuse. And then at 9, we talked about Buddy Hield a little bit earlier. Oklahoma and Iowa State. Always a great environment there. Both games also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app.
Well, Dan, you were talking a little bit earlier about the matchups that Brandon Ingram, the matchup problems he caused that he's moved to the 4. That's been a positive change for him with Emil Jefferson out. It's not been positive for Duke, but Ingram has benefited a little bit in the way that he plays. One guy that's taken a hit from it has been Matt Jones. Yeah. His role has totally changed, and he doesn't seem like he's been himself over the last several games.
What would you call Matt Jones's role right now after the injury? Nice left-handed lay-in there by Beecham.
Well, now, he's come in as a point guard today. He's handling the ball, which he did. He was what I would call really their undisputed leader earlier in the season. But now that Derek Thornton went to the bench for this game, they're putting him at the starting lineup as the point guard. And I think it's going to help him. And he's on Demetrius Jackson right now. You're not going to find a tougher matchup in the league of having to go defensively against a guy.
Colson over Plumlee. No. Colson tries to keep it alive, but it'll be Duke ball.
Jones, one of the best defenders in the country. Now, Duke doesn't really have a point guard that they can put the ball in his hands, which traditionally Mike Krzyzewski's had. He's just been able to give a ball to a point guard and let him run the team. That's not been the case this year, and it's been an adjustment.
Even last year, Tyus Jones as a freshman had a sensational season, and it's a different year. It's a different group of freshmen. It's a different team this year here in Duke than it was last year when they went all the way to the national championship.
Yeah, not every top-ranked recruiting class is the same. It's kind of like the NBA draft. You can be the #1 pick, but not every #1 pick is LeBron. It's different each year. And the learning curve's a little bit different for this group. And they just don't have as many players. And that's Harry Giles, who's coming in as the #1 recruit in the country next year. He's been out. He tore an ACL earlier this year. Was at Oak Hill Academy. I think that he's transferred back to his original high school, Wesleyan, where he played for Keith Gatlin, the former point guard of Maryland.
Jones with a 17-footer when the lead grows to 5.
And that was just too easy. Got a little bit of a switch and a little step back against Zach August. And you don't get that much time to shoot in a game of horse, let alone in a 5-on-5 game. And you think that Mike Bray at some point is going to go zone in this one.
August gathers. Beecham, a very good outside shooter, 45% from beyond the arc. Colson working extremely hard, and it pays off on the offensive glass.
Well, he really went after the ball there. That was not a pretty offensive rebounding exchange. It was a gritty one. And the grittiest was Bonzie Colson.
A 6'5" player who will play either the 4 or the 5 for the Irish. Kennard in some traffic, gets out of it, and gets the roll. What a nice play by Luke Kennard.
And what a ball fake. You know, just a great shot fake in the lane. Froze the defense, and he's able to make that move. That's a guy with a really good feel for the game.
Astoria around a screen into the chest of Plumlee. August misses the putback.
Boy, you have to make those. You have to make those.
And then Beecham commits a foul that he wishes he could have back. That's the 3rd foul on Beecham. Mike Bray won't like that. Mike Krzyzewski, though, will like this. The freshman's getting better by the game.
Doug Kazarian and Corey Alexander with a studio update over on ESPN. #1 Kansas surprisingly close with TCU.
And you were saying Kansas responding, but getting back home into the comfortable confines of fog out in the rain.
Let's go back to Dan and Jay.
All right, guys, thanks. Bonus situation here for Duke. Luke Kennard is at the line after the 3rd foul by V.J. Beecham. A regrettable foul, really. And the one he didn't need to make, just to reach in the front court, and it is his 3rd. And we mentioned Notre Dame's a little bit deeper than Duke, but not by much, and Beecham's on the bench for the rest of the half.
Does regrettable mean not very smart?
Yes.
It's not the smartest play that young man's ever made.
Yes.
Because when you're limited in numbers, and this goes for both Duke and Notre Dame, you got to be smart with your fouls. Can't waste them.
Bonzie Colson, not just a guy who can get offensive rebounds. He can knock down a mid-range jumper.
Well, his old man was a good player. Played at Rhode Island, was an assistant at Boston College. Bonzie, I don't know if it's Bonzie Sr., but the original Bonzie Colson.
This Bonzie's got 8. Notre Dame, which has never led in the game, is down by 3. Ingram, 4-3, his 2nd of the game.
Well, that's what you were talking about earlier, Dan. You put your hand down, you play the drive, and Brandon Ingram just rises up and shoots over you. And he doesn't have to get very high up on that jump shot because his arms are so long. And that kid has got a ton of game. And he's just scratching the surface of how good he's going to be.
He's trying to stay with Jackson right now. Jackson into the paint, off the glass, and good. Again, just plays with such great change of pace, and he brings the Irish back within 4.
Well, Duke was trying to ice or down that ball screen to keep it on the left side of the floor, but they let him get out and go around to the right side. Now is that 2-3 zone that I thought that Mike Bray would pull out. And this is what Clemson did to Duke at the end of the first half, and it was really effective. It got the Blue Devils to stand around a little bit more.
Ingram with a good look, misses this 3, and it's out of bounds off the Irish.
Well, take a look at Demetrius Jackson here. They're trying to down this ball screen and keep it on that side. So Brandon Ingram up on the top side of him and trying to force him down into the corner, but you let him get out and it just breaks your defense down totally. Isn't it great when you diagram play, you know, things or talk about it? You can say, hey, you let this guy out, he's going to score. Well, duh. He's pretty good. It's hard to keep him there.
Yep. Jackson probing again, has Jones on him. The kick to Colson. Colson over Ingram. It'll go, and a foul. The 2nd foul on Brandon Ingram, and a chance for Colson to bring the Irish within a single point.
Boy, a smart play. Yeah, that was almost a dribble drive motion look. Kind of a pitch out handoff to Bonzie Colson. And one of the ways you can try to slow down a really good player on your opposing team is by making him guard. And that's exactly what they did to Brandon Ingram. Picked up a foul. Now he's going to go out for a period. He can't score on the bench. That can be a really effective way to go at a prime. It's not just how you defend them. It's making your opponent defend.
So it's Thornton back into the game. Thornton, Jones, Allen, Kennard, and Plumlee in the game right now for Duke.
1-2-2 3/4 court pressure back into that 2-3 zone, and you have to penetrate this. You can't just throw it around the perimeter and launch up threes. There's openings to drive it.
Shot clock inside 10. Kennard the kick. Thornton. Corner three, Allen. Around and out, of the rebound down to August, and Notre Dame can take its first lead of the game. And right now, with Ingram out, Matt Jones has to guard Colson. See if Colson tries to take him down on the block. Vastoria, little shovel pass inside, and August is fouled by Allen. And Allen got the worst of it as well, though August is slow to get up.
Again, one of the things about this 2-3 zone that I think can really be effective is it does limit penetration, makes it a little more difficult, and your three-point shots are coming in a different way than they did against man. And Grayson Allen did take a shot there. You see him just hacking down, but there's nothing there. I don't even think they're going to look at that.
Second foul on Allen. So Ingram's on the bench with 2. Allen's in the game with 2, with better than 5 minutes remaining in the half. Jackson and Notre Dame, which trailed 8-0 2 minutes in, now has the lead.
And now the question comes with playing with fouls. You're going to get fouls in these games. How do you play with those fouls?
Allen, Plumlee, his first points of the game. Beautiful feed from Grayson Allen.
One thing Duke has done, of the many things they've done well this year, is keep Marshall Plumlee behind the defense. That's a little bit easier to do against the zone. He was on the baseline, basically behind that zone, got lost, and Grayson Allen found him.
He's shooting almost 70% from the floor on the season, and you see why. Almost all of his makes are dunks, and almost all of them come on drive and dish.
That was a really nice defensive possession for Derek Thornton, the freshman. Made Demetrius Jackson take an incredibly difficult shot, one that he's capable of making. But that's the issue with fouls. Make your opponent take a tough shot. Don't foul him and bail him out. Smart play.
Kennard for 3. Got it. He's got a dozen.
It's really been Grayson Allen, Luke Kennard, and Brandon Ingram. That's been the scoring for Duke.
And they have 35, I believe, of their 39 points between the 3 of them. Vastoria guarded by Allen. Allen stays with him. Vastoria has it taken away by Kennard. His parents love it. The Crazies love it. And after surrendering the lead briefly, Duke has rallied with the last 7 points. It started with Allen finding Plumlee for the slam. That put Duke back on top. And then Luke Kennard took over. He's having a big game. He had a 3 and then a steal and a lay-in, and the Blue Devils are on top by 6.
Up on the Land Rover halftime report. Top-ranked Kansas trying to rebound from a loss, hosting TCU. And Maryland hangs 100. Corey Alexander will tell you the Terps' most important player, and it's not Melo Trimble, fellas.
All right, guys, thank you. Looking forward to that as Jackson can't finish on the lob. We'll see Maryland coming up next week at Michigan State. Saturday prime game day game. Plumlee with a lay-in. Duke leads by 8.
And Notre Dame runs a really good play out of the timeout to get a lob to Demetrius Jackson, and Vastoria's pass hit the rim. And that ball was actually close to going in. And it leads to an easy transition basket for Duke off the miscue.
Vastoria. And a Duke player went flying over Jackson. It's Derek Thornton, who is still down on the court. And Demetrius Jackson is going over to make sure he's okay. There was no harm intended by Jackson. I think Thornton went up looking for a rebound and went flying right over Jackson. It might have inadvertently gotten clipped.
Yeah, there really was nothing that Jackson, it wasn't like it was an undercut. He was just going to block out. He didn't know that Thornton was going to jump there, and I think the officials were looking at that as incidental contact.
And Thornton back up and will stay in the game.
Bonzie Colson up top, picking up Matt Jones.
Wide open look, Kennard.
That was an odd defensive look right there for Notre Dame. Looked like they were in a zone, but they're kind of picking up man in a sense. Hard to really tell what they were trying to accomplish.
Duke with an 8-0 run to start the game. A recent 9-0 run. So 2 big runs by the Blue Devils in this game, but Notre Dame still hanging in, down by 6. It's a Martin Luther King Day NBA Special Edition game presented by State Farm. 2:30 Eastern Time. Anthony Davis and the Pelicans. Zach Randolph and the Grizzlies from the FedEx Forum. Also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app.
One nation, one brow. Former teammate of mine, Danny Ferry, has his jersey retired here. Both Ferry and Mike Bray going with the beard. Must be a DeMatha thing.
Mike Bray is calling it the Karma beard right now. They lost a game, so he grew a beard. He said, I'm going to keep it until we lose again. They beat Georgia Tech on Wednesday. Had a hard-fought win at home, 72-64. So he's got the beard going here at Cameron. If they win this one, he's going to keep it.
Well, but the question is, if they continue to win and he keeps it, does he trim it? Or does he go kind of all Duck Dynasty on it?
Matt Jones for 3. That is the 7th 3 of the game for Duke. And Mike Krzyzewski, who just turned to the fans behind the Duke bench and waved his arms up saying, let's have some more noise.
Well, he can feel it. This can be one of these turning points in a game where the last couple of minutes you can either extend this lead or Notre Dame can bite into it.
Pfluger knocks down the jumper after a nice shot fake, and Notre Dame is back within 5.
Well, he's made 2 really good plays in a row. A couple plays ago where he shot fake and he got a matchup with Marshall Plumlee. He drove it and put his team in a really good position.
He's benefiting from the foul trouble on Beecham, who's been on the bench with 3 for a long time. This is Coach K after the last basket.
He's trying to get the crowd into it, to just inject a little bit more energy into his team. Going to use every resource at his command.
He used the word resources with us before the game. He said that he considers his team to have limited resources. They have very good resources, but a limited number of resources, and he has tried to tell his team, don't spend it all at once. The analogy being you got to stay out of foul trouble. They've really only got 6 players right now, with Emil Jefferson out indefinitely still with a broken foot. So Mike Krzyzewski feels that every game is going to be a battle in the ACC. They're 3-1 in the league, but coming off the loss at Clemson.
He's talking about his team having to grind it out. And I know some people might listen to that and say, wait a minute, they got 7 McDonald's All-Americans. How are they grinding it out? But some of these guys just aren't ready yet. They will be, but not yet.
Pfluger. Not this time, and Matt Jones down with a rebound.
A 7-point lead, a minute to go. And Duke probably thinking about getting at least 2 possessions, maybe 3 out of this if they can get stops.
Jones. Sean Obi wrestles down the offensive rebound, gets a hug from Plumlee, and is headed to the free throw line.
Obi's a transfer from Rice, where he was one of the top rebounders in Conference USA. He has had difficulty finding the floor, but goes after that with both hands. Winds up getting a foul back on the floor. It looked like it went on August. He winds up going to the free throw line as a result. But you get 2 free throws here and a stop and then another score, and that can really extend this lead going into halftime. So Notre Dame's got to do something on this offensive end.
Obi coming into the game today had played only 16 minutes all season. He's now 1 for 3 from the line after that miss. The foul on August was his 2nd, so he's gone to the bench. Colson has come back in.
How about the first half that Luke Kennard, the freshman from Ohio, has had in this game? Well, those are a couple of big misses. That could have put Duke at 50 with a 9-point lead. Now Notre Dame's got the ball back with a chance to get a score, even if it's a 3, really cut into this lead.
High scoring game, and not surprising. These 2 teams are both in the top 5 in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency, which means points per possession adjusted for the level of competition you're playing as well. The Irish are 3rd, and the Blue Devils are 4th. Jackson with a tough fadeaway.
What a tough shot. So a lead that I think Mike Krzyzewski is thinking should have been 9 is down to 5.
And he'll take the timeout. We'll step aside here at Cameron.
Yeah, I like this right.
Demetrius Jackson is in the top 5 in the ACC in scoring and assists. And Jay, his conference numbers are better than his overall season numbers. He's taken his game up a level in conference play.
Demetrius Jackson is a great player. I mean, he can do everything out on the court. He's an excellent defender. He's become a really good leader. But he's got the ability to make difficult shots, and his handle is so tight. His crossover is so good. He can get into the lane. He's strong. But right now, Notre Dame needs a good defensive possession.
And Mike Bray not happy there as Jackson was called for the foul. That's his second, and it'll put Duke back on the free throw line. That is not what Coach Bray wanted.
No, and not the smartest play by Demetrius Jackson. Just, you get your body in that arm bar on a ball handle that far away from the basket. The referees have proven they're going to call that.
Thornton, a 73% free throw shooter.
Mike Krzyzewski getting Brandon Ingram out of the game so as not to pick up that third foul, a cheap one before the half.
The only player in the game with 2 fouls for Duke is Grayson Allen. And now Mike Bray wants to get Matt Ryan back in for Bonzi Colson. Ryan's a 6'8" guy, but he's like a stretch 4. He's got very good range.
Right now, Notre Dame wants to get this ball up quickly and try to get something to the basket. If you can kick it out for an open 3, got plenty of time, and Duke's got 6 fouls, so they can't just foul.
A 50-point half for Duke. The Irish looking to cut into the lead in the closing seconds. Jackson will. Another tough jumper for Demetrius Jackson. And we're midway through this game with Duke leading 50-45 in a high-scoring affair here at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Let's go down to the court. Shannon Spake is with Notre Dame coach Mike Bray.
Coach Bray, a lot of the story coming into this game was the environment from last year. How would you describe the way that they handled it?
I'm really proud of our group. I think we've really played well. We've put ourselves in position. They're really hard to guard. I hope we can play our defense without fouling in the second half, but I like what we're doing offensively.
What are the key matchups that are vital for you guys to win in the second?
You know, I don't know if there's any key matchups other than can we keep them off the foul line. We hand-checked a little bit too much, and quite frankly, I think a couple of them were mystery calls. Maybe we'll get those back in the second half. Thank you,
Coach Bray.
All right, Shannon, thank you. 50-45, the most points allowed by the Irish in a half this season, but they're only down by 5. Should be a great second half here from Durham. For now, though, it's time for the Land Rover halftime report. Back to the studio with Doug Kazarian and Corey Alexander.
Dan, thank you very much. Welcome into the Land Rover half.
This halftime report is presented by Land Rover. Above and beyond.
Wild ending in Philadelphia. Double overtime, tied game. Shot blocked. Jumper miss. Jalen Bond, that proved to be the game winners. Temple outlasts Cincinnati. Georgetown.
Pick a key for the second half in terms of determining who wins the game.
Well, playing good defense without fouling. Duke is 7 of 13 from the three-point line, and they've also gotten to the free throw line. Notre Dame committed 12 fouls in that first half. Duke only committed 6, but Notre Dame is getting into the lane. They had 26 points in the paint in that first half. Their average is about 34. So I think Duke is going to have to do a better job of keeping them out of the lane. But I think Mike Bray has got to feel very good about the way his team performed. But the key is they cannot pick up fouls to start this second half.
Yeah, VJ Beacham picked up a third foul with 7.5 minutes left in the first half. Didn't play again in the first half. He is in there to start the second half. Matt Ryan is not in the game to start the second half. Bonzi Colson, who was fantastic in the first half, gets the start. So this is the lineup actually that Mike Bray had been using until the last couple of games. Let's check in with Shannon.
Well, guys, you mentioned the defense for Notre Dame. That is specifically, or I'm sorry, for Duke, that's specifically what Coach K mentioned inside that locker room. He said, we've got to keep Notre Dame out of that paint. He also mentioned ball screen defense. Now, before the game, you remember he told us he wants his team to, 1, play smart, and number 2, fight like crazy. He likes what he's seen out of them offensively.
All right, Shannon, thank you. Notre Dame lost by 30 here last year, but they did beat Duke up in South Bend, and they did beat them in the semifinals of the ACC tournament in Greensboro. Notre Dame went on to win that tournament. Terrific season last year for the Irish, and even better one, of course, for Duke, because they went on to win the national championship. Both teams with a lot of turnover, lost a lot of good players from last year. Ingram knew he missed it, followed it, can't get it. Jackson, a good rebounding guard, comes up with it.
Well, I think you're going to see Duke go to Brandon Ingram because he's going to have some matchup advantages on the offensive end.
August misses a couple of times, and Bonzie Colson with his 5th offensive rebound of the game, and he's now got 15 points on the afternoon.
Well, Zach August needs to get a little bit stronger. He's worried about these misses. He's had a lot of just chip in putback misses, and he's missed them, and he needs to move on.
Ingram driving on Colson, a little bit strong, and the rebound for August.
Well, it's been 1 and out. If Duke misses them, they're not getting second chances, and that's one of the things, of the many things they miss from Emil Jefferson. I think if Notre Dame can get a score here, they've got to feel really good about their chances on the road. This is a heck of an offensive team. They can really, really score. Here's a switch.
Jackson over Ingram. And it'll be Notre Dame ball out of bounds off Plumlee.
Well, when you're thin and playing so many guards, the defensive boards are really difficult. And I think Notre Dame can get some second shots, especially August and Colson.
Astoria now with Ingram on him. August gets inside and will lay this one in, and the Irish are back within 1.
Running a little pick and roll out of the corner, which is a difficult place for it to guard. And I think Mike Krzyzewski wants a timeout. He wants to talk about it. But that's where Zach August is at his best. Setting a ball screen and then diving or rolling right to the basket, where he can put a lot of pressure on Duke's ball screen defense. Just what Shannon Spake was talking about a minute ago.
An early timeout for Duke here in the second half. The Irish have scored the first 2 buckets of the half. We got ourselves a 1-point game here at Cameron.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Volkswagen.
Some great old shots here from Cameron Indoor Stadium, which has changed a bit over the years. How much is different, Jay, from when you played as a player? How much has changed inside this building?
Oh, a ton has changed. I mean, these scoreboards that they have now, all this digital stuff, it's amazing. And it's lit much better. I played in the black and white pictures era just because there wasn't enough light in here to take color pictures.
Do you remember the first time you came in here?
I do.
Was it your official visit? Or
my official visit was the first time I came in, but I didn't come to a game. It was in October, so practice had just started. So the first time I was ever here for a real game, I was playing in it, and it was intimidating.
Ingram at the line for Duke. Foul was on Astoria, his second. Beacham's got 3 for the Irish. A trio of other Notre Dame players each with 2, and a couple of Duke players with 2. Again, neither team is very deep. Duke's got a 2-point lead.
I wonder if Notre Dame is going to try to get the ball to Colson and let him go right at Brandon Ingram. Ingram trying to front him. I think that's an area where Notre Dame can and should attack.
Colson much stronger than Ingram, forces it up and in, and Ingram just picked up his 3rd foul.
And Colson had something to say to him right after. The referees didn't pick up on it, but he was trying to let Brandon Ingram know that I'm going to have a tough time guarding you, but my friend, you're going to have a tough time guarding me. He just backed him right down and gave a little bit extra afterwards. Usually the referees step in and say something about that stuff, but that's the way it goes in the big city.
And the Irish have just their 2nd lead of the afternoon. And this is where you think back to the loss of Emil Jefferson. As much as it has helped Ingram on the offensive end, he's a mismatch problem as he tries to go right around Colson. He does, and Plumlee has it knocked away by Demetrius Jackson.
Jackson's just a big-time player.
The trailer is August. Too strong. Colson on the glass. It should stay with the Notre Dame, and it does.
And that's another layup missed by Zach August. He's saying that he got hit. What a play. It's an amazing play by Demetrius Jackson. That is all ball and then some by a guy who's, what, 6'1", going against 7 feet. It's okay to be down on your knees, a little bit tired after that. He's playing. He hasn't been out yet, and I don't think he's coming out.
Astoria. Colson again, and he is fouled.
Well, that was a foul by Chase Jeter, just put into the ball game. And right now, Notre Dame is just more physical. They're playing older.
The foul has been given to Ingram, not to Jeter, and that is the 4th on Ingram.
Well, I thought that was Jeter because he was knocking him down, it looked like, but maybe Ingram was behind the play with an arm in there, and we just missed that. We're a long way away.
I mean, this is obviously a huge development in this game for Duke, because Ingram's got to go to the bench with his 4th, and he got his right arm in on it.
He did.
Good
so that
call.
was the top part of the play instead of we saw the end.
A huge loss for Duke. So now Chase Jeter, a freshman from Las Vegas. He's averaging just 9 minutes per game. He only played 4 minutes in the loss at Clemson Wednesday because he fouled out in those 4 minutes. And Mike Krzyzewski said he's just very young and he's not quite ready to be what they need him to be, but they're going to need some big minutes from him today, it looks like.
Well, that was a gigantic foul. So 17 minutes to go in regulation. Brandon Ingram on the bench, and it could be for some time.
Jackson, and Jeter just picked up a foul. And not only the 4th foul on Ingram, but the 3rd foul that you almost predicted was going to happen. Colson just backing down Ingram and almost forcing him to foul him. That was the 3rd foul.
What do you mean almost? That was prophecy.
So Jackson heads back to the line. And it's been all Notre Dame here in the second half. Coming up on Big Monday, a great doubleheader. Syracuse, fresh off a win at Wake Forest today, will be right here at Cameron to take on the Duke Blue Devils in the first game. And then at 9, it'll be Player of the Year candidate Buddy Hield in Oklahoma against Player of the Year candidate George Niang in Iowa State. Niang's having a great year as well. Both games streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. I don't know that anybody's having the year Buddy Hield has, but Niang's a heck of a player as well.
Well, both those guys know how to play. And in this game, you got a bunch of young players going against some older ones that really know how to play. And Kennard has had a great game. Notre Dame just didn't want to pick up a foul there. You can get a basket back. You cannot get a foul back. And that's one thing I think some of the younger players from Duke have got to learn, is especially when they're playing so shorthanded. You know, I think what was it Mike Krzyzewski was talking about? Resources. Like, fouls are resources, and when you got to stay in the game, you can't give those things away.
He said spend your resources wisely, and Brandon Ingram made a couple of unwise decisions. A turnover on the Irish. Luke Kennard, though, with the first field goal of the half here for Duke, helping to keep him in it.
Kennard is left-handed, and they were just sitting on that left hand and gave him the right-hand drive. And like, he's good enough with his right hand to go that way. That was too easy.
Matt Jones. Tie game. Matt Jones quietly is a 42% shooter from three-point range. Bastoria with a floater gets the bounce, and the Irish are back on top.
Well, caught in a little awkward situation, but still able to keep his poise once he left the floor. Steve Bastoria, that was a heck of a play, and a nice answer when Duke was able to take the lead.
And a block is called on Jackson, stepping in to try to defend the drive of Grayson Allen. A timeout on the floor, and a good one at Cameron. The Big Monday doubleheader will be right back here at Cameron as Duke hosts Syracuse. Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, Shannon Spake. And they've got a great record here at home, but they're getting tested and then some by Notre Dame right now, and Brandon Ingram is on the bench with 4 fouls in this game.
Duke looking to spread the floor and drive the best matchup they can, and the matchup was Kennard guarded by Ryan. They got it to Kennard and let him drive to his left hand. And that was a pretty finishing move. And you're going to see Mike Krzyzewski do this while Brandon Ingram's out. They're just going to try to find the best matchup they can drive and drive it. That's what they did at Wake Forest.
Kennard now has 20. August muscles his way inside and has a chance for 3.
Boy, how different was that move by Zach August than some of the ones we have seen him miss. And it's not just the fact that he made it. It's the way that he physically went into the defense and instead of trying to avoid the block shot. They're the two big guys. Notre Dame playing 3 around 2 with Colson and August inside. And that was a nice big-to-big pass. They're looking for each other when they get a double team. That was excellent basketball by Notre Dame.
Second foul on Marshall Plumlee. Rattles in for August. 3-point play, 3-point lead. Pfluger in for Ryan for the Irish.
We'll see if Duke decides to get the ball to Kennard again. They're going to move the ball as best they can and then look to drive. And then if you overhelp, then they can kick it to a three-point shooter or maybe drive that closeout. Wow.
And Kennard makes it after the ankle-breaking move on Pfluger. I mean, it's a wow when the defender hits the deck. You got to pay it off by making the shot, and Kennard has been making everything today.
Yeah, that was a double wow when he made the shot. That was big time. What a play.
He is having himself an afternoon. 23, tied again. Shot clock's at 3. Colson, 4-3. How about that?
Notre Dame never lost their poise in that. Mike Krzyzewski upset that one of the players, I guess, was talking to his bench, and he jumped right off the bench. Both coaches have been incredibly fiery in this one.
Kennard again. 26. Jackson with a drive. Too strong. Thornton down to the rebound. Duke looking for the lead.
They have numbers.
Jones baseline. Plumlee. No basket. It is a block on Colson, but it's called before the shot.
Well, the officials have got a tough job in this one because these tensions are getting high in this game. Now watch this little step move. With the left foot forward, Pfluger goes down, and the poise to knock that shot down. And Luke Kennard is having an incredibly good game. We got players talking to each other, talking to the opposing bench. Coaches are shaking their fists and throwing their coats. Mike Krzyzewski took his coat off and threw it backwards. I wonder if his wallet was in there. If it was, I'd like to grab that thing.
Thornton. Plumlee. And now Colson down with another rebound. Kennard, the freshman, already has a season high in 26 points. And Colson's got 23 for Notre Dame. His career high is 24. And the 3 he hit a minute ago, just his 3rd of the season.
What a game.
Astoria baseline with a reverse. How nice was that?
And Matt Jones comes up limping a little bit. Well, both these teams are throwing haymakers, taking punches, and coming right back at each other. This might be one of those who has the ball last games.
Kennard guarded by Pfluger, crosses over, and it's going to stay with Duke.
Well, that's a matchup that Luke Kennard seems to like when he's got Pfluger on him. He's got the ability to drive the ball, and because he can shoot it so well, you've got to get up on him to take that shot away, which helps open up the drive. One thing that Notre Dame's done really well in the second half, of the many things, they've rebounded really effectively.
Kennard inside. Pfluger got a piece. Kennard got it back. Good ball movement, but the Irish recover. Tough elbow jumper not there for Thornton, and Colson with yet another rebound. Bonzie Colson has been a stud today.
Well, sometimes you say man among boys. He's been a man amongst men.
I mean, he's 6'5", and he is, and always does, gets in there with the guys 5, 6, 7 inches taller than him and competes. He's going to take another 3. He's going to make another 3. And that's a career high for Colson.
Bonzie Colson, the perimeter threat now. What a game.
Allen trying to drive by Astoria, and a foul is called to take us to the under-12 media timeout. Jay, Bonzie Colson just getting it done today for the Irish.
Well, he has taken over in this ball game. Bonzie Colson, known as an energy guy, kind of a junkyard dog with a back to the basket game, but now he can face the basket. You better go get a hand up.
Performance reimagined.
Has said that this team is in survival mode, and the reason for that is because senior Emil Jefferson is on the bench. He's still healing that fractured right foot. Unfortunately, there is no timetable for his return. The coaches and the staff are hoping to have him back by the end of the year. But one of the issues is he's still in that walking boot, and they can't make a guess as to when he may come back or determine when he may come back until that walking boot comes off. He's still got a limp, but he is doing some strength moves. He's able to do some squats. He's able to do some core exercises, but just no running at this point because he's still got that limp. So they'll know once that boot comes off.
All right, Shannon, thank you. And basically that leaves Duke with 6 players that Mike Krzyzewski's totally comfortable with. And Ingram, although he kind of plays the 4 spot right now, he's really a perimeter player. More, you could call him a guard, and that wouldn't be a stretch.
Well, he is a perimeter player, and he causes a lot of matchup problems. He's about to come back into the ball game now
with 4 fouls.
So he's got 4 fouls. Now, he's only scored 1 point in this second half. Obviously, he's been out since the 17-minute mark. But he had 4 fouls in the game at Clemson after having, 16 points or so in the first half. He only had 1 point in the second half having to play with foul trouble. And I think you go at him right now. You make him guard on the first play.
He's guarding Matt Ryan. Ryan, Pfluger, Vastoria, Colson, Jackson for the Irish. Another reverse for Vastoria, and he's got 16 today. The Irish lead by 5 again.
Well, Vastoria got the switch. He had Plumlee on him and immediately drove it. Nobody there to come over and block the shot, take the charge, and he went to the other side of the basket again to take himself out of the block shot.
Ingram the kick. Jones back to Ingram for 3. Got it!
Boy, what a big-time answer to come back into the ball game and knock down your first shot. That's got to give him a lot more confidence that he can play with those fouls.
A calculated risk taken by Mike Krzyzewski to put him back in there with 4 fouls, but as Coach K told us, very limited options. They got to try to win every game they could win, so he's putting Ingram back in with 4. Strong drive and left-handed lay-in by Demetrius Jackson.
He just went right into the chest of a shot blocker in Marshall Plumlee, a 7-footer, and then switched hands and shielded off that blocked shot. That was an excellent and a big-time drive by Demetrius Jackson.
Allen got Jackson in the air. Plumlee the kick. Now Ingram. Colson got a piece of it, but Plumlee is there to slam it home.
Duke going into it looks like a little bit of a different defense here. They're going into a zone. It's a 3-2, and we try to extend it.
Colson over Plumlee. And Duke can tie or take the lead as we have passed the midway point of the second half. Kennard, the big star today for the Blue Devils with a season-high 26. Ingram's got 18.
Isolated.
Draws the foul on Ryan.
They're just opening up the isolation on the left-hand side of the floor to go against Matt Ryan.
And so Brandon Ingram, the 3rd foul on Ryan. Ingram will head to the free throw line. We told you about his numbers over the last 10 games, averaging better than 20 points per game over that stretch. That's his 19th point here today.
He got off to a slow start earlier this year, and people were asking, geez, is he ready? And it takes guys some time to get adjusted to college and the more physical game and having to play a different way. And he's clearly figured it out, and now he's got a lot more pressure on his shoulders without Emil Jefferson of having to stay in games with some foul issues.
The 6th tie of the afternoon, and the Cameron Crazies are fired up again. 9.5 to go. A game that looks like it's headed to the 90s today between 9th-ranked Duke and unranked Notre Dame. Vastoria again, and he's got 19.
That middle is open, and they got the ball to Pfluger in the middle. He immediately kicked it back out after the defense reacted and contracted, and Vastoria was ready to shoot when he caught it.
Kennard bumping with Pfluger, and Kennard called for the offensive foul. That's his 2nd.
Just gave that extra little bump. I wasn't sure that was going to be called an offensive foul. If they didn't, they would have had a foul on Pfluger reaching in, but a good play by Pfluger to just stay in front.
Jackson and Vastoria in the backcourt as always for Notre Dame. Both get big-time minutes.
It looks like Duke going back man-to-man now. Ingram guarding Beecham.
Beecham mostly a jump shooter, a three-point specialist offensively. Jones recovers back to Jackson.
They're trying to ice those ball screens. Nice play.
Pfluger dumps it down. August with a tough catch, can't finish. Rebound to Beecham. And it's a fresh 30 for Notre Dame.
How many bunnies has Zach August missed in this one?
A lot more than Jackson has. Jackson has been finishing beautifully in this game.
He has been absolutely spectacular, taking the ball to the basket. 20 points for him on the ball game, and they've been tough points. He's not gotten anything easy.
The game started with Duke on an 8-0 run. The Irish on their heels early, but they recovered. Actually took the lead briefly in the first half, went to the break down 5, and they have been the far better team here in the second half.
Right now, Notre Dame, when they're guarding the drive, like Pfluger was guarding Luke Kennard on that drive, there are going to be times when the guy driving the ball, the offensive player, is going to get by you a little bit. And you can't cut everything off. You just got to angle it out, because you foul, those are points that you're just kind of giving away. And Luke Kennard does not miss free throws.
Tonight at 11, be sure to tune in for Sports Center at Night with Jay Harris and John Abuchagross. They'll have highlights and breakdowns from the Chiefs and Patriots and from the Packers and the Cardinals, as well as covering the rest of the day in sports. End your day on a highlight with Sports Center at night.
And one thing you know at Sports Center, when John Abuchagross is on the broadcast, his clothes will be impeccably ironed.
3-point lead, Notre Dame. Inside 8 minutes to go.
Back to the zone.
Jackson in the middle of it. Follow no good. Kennard the rebound. And a travel is called on Luke Kennard.
Wow.
Not a popular call, needless to say, here in Durham. Timeout on the floor. Notre Dame leading by 3.
ESPN's exclusive
Cameron.
All right, guys, thank you. It has been a shootout today. 78-75 Notre Dame, and a great game so far this afternoon. Looking forward to West Virginia and Oklahoma coming up as well. Luke Kennard's had a career day, if you will, for the freshman. Jackson and Vastoria have not come out of the game for the Irish. Matt Jones has not come out of the game for Duke. It's been that kind of an afternoon. And now sneaking behind the defense, Pfluger can't finish, though.
Hit the shot clock.
So it'll be Duke ball.
And Notre Dame has really dominated the paint in this game. And it's not dominate the paint in the sense of get it inside to a big guy and power up to the basket. They are punching the lane off the dribble and cuts. And they are really getting into the getting to the basket. I mean, they get 38 points in the paint and shooting 61%. That's off Kennard.
And he knew it. And it is Notre Dame ball. 9th turnover committed by Duke.
Those exchanges and handoffs, Notre Dame's doing a pretty good job of stepping in front. And those can be really difficult because you can get picked off. They can turn the corner. And Notre Dame right now just got a 3-point lead under 8 minutes to go. So now, really in this game, it's how you handle your offensive possessions. So you got to be tough on offense because stops are hard to come by. And second shots for Notre Dame. They've been very good on the offensive glass. And Bonzie Colson's in there and has to be blocked out.
Jackson with a kick. Vastoria has been hot in the second half, and that continues.
Boy, what a great play. That's an under control attack of the defense. Drawing the defense and kicking it out. And Brandon Ingram stopped that drive. And, you know, you were thinking about his fouls. You know, he had to be thinking about it as well.
This is the largest lead of the game for Notre Dame. And Pfluger, I believe, is going to get called for the foul. His third.
Pfluger trying to block out Marshall Plumlee. Just that little shot fake opened it up for Jackson. And when you've got a 7-footer closing out to you, you expect that that 7-footer is going to rise up. You're going to be able to drive around. That really opened things up for the defense to have to rotate and then hit the open man for the jumper in Vastoria.
Plumlee misses the front end. He's a 60% free throw shooter on the season. Although last week against Virginia Tech, he did make 9 out of 10. But that's a big miss right there for Duke.
And a big possession right now for Notre Dame. Got a 6-point lead. They can stretch this out. Duke now in man-to-man in need of a stop.
Duger getting a lot of minutes off the bench today for the Irish. Colson, not this time. He's made a couple of threes today. Not this time, and it's Duke's ball.
Well, Mike Brey, a lot of coaches would be upset at that shot, but Mike Brey knows he's getting everything out of his team, and he was saying before the game, he doesn't yell at shooters very often.
Yeah. It's against his policy to ever get upset at a shooter.
Well, you noticed him kind of getting on Matt Ryan the last game for taking a shot, and Mike said he had to go to confession and say, bless me, Father, for I yelled at a shooter.
Ingram with a tough finish over Colson.
Well, that's the matchup difficulty that Brandon Ingram can bring. You cut him off on the drive, he makes a little turn, and he can just step through and shoot with those long arms. I mean, that reach and wingspan is absolutely incredible. 7'3". It is fabulous on a basketball court. Very difficult when you're buying shirts.
And forgive me, that's the fourth on Beecham. He was defending Ingram. America needs you to say wingspan as often as you can between now and the end of the game.
Well, it's great for hydration. I want to keep America hydrated.
Ingram, despite the foul trouble, having a big afternoon. And this continues to be just a great college basketball game.
There's two teams that really play great offense, very well coached, and they've got multiple threat offensive players on the floor.
Astoria using the screen. Plumlee altered the shot a little bit. Colson down with a rebound, right back up with it, and a soft touch to extend the lead to 5.
A great play by Colson, the only one really going after the ball, and Duke getting dominated on the offensive glass by Notre Dame. And Mike Krzyzewski's got to be thinking right now, you know, his team did everything right up until the very end of the possession, didn't finish it off. Notre Dame did.
Ingram again. He's got 25.
25 after sitting out for an extended period.
The freshmen Kennard and Ingram have combined for 53 points today for Duke.
And this is after a game in which Ingram only scored 1 point in the second half against Clemson.
Swatted out of bounds. It stays with the Irish. 11 on the shot clock.
Marshall Plumlee went down on that. I don't think there was any contact before he went down. I think he was anticipating that charge coming at him, so there are a lot of bodies on the floor.
Plumlee, the fifth-year senior. This is the 8th and final year of a Plumlee on the Duke roster. 8 years in a row they've had at least one Plumlee. Miles and Mason now both in the NBA. August the handoff. Ingram on Jackson. Now Jackson goes around Plumlee. Can't get the reverse.
Numbers for Duke.
Kennard threw it right to Colson. And somebody in the corner, but Colson anticipated it.
Just a key mistake. And Notre Dame continuing to hold this lead. Duke had numbers. They had an opportunity and wind up with a key turnover. Notre Dame's got an opportunity to stretch the lead.
And Mike Brey will use the timeout. We mentioned off the top of the show, Mike Brey was at one point an assistant here at Duke when they won a couple of national championships when they were led by graduate assistant Jay Billis. but here's the other part of the Coach K coaching tree. I mean, look at these names: Mike Brey at Notre Dame, Tommy Amaker, Harvard, Johnny Dawkins at Stanford, Chris Collins and Steve Wojciechowski, who seemed like they were here forever as assistants, now at Northwestern and Marquette, respectively, and Bobby Hurley in his first year at Arizona State.
You notice something about that coaching tree of the former players? They're all guards.
That's true.
Mike Krzyzewski's big man development coaching program has left something to be desired.
Is there a bias against big men, Mr. Billis?
No, he's had an amazing group of guards here, and you think about not only what those guys have done in their coaching careers outside of here and being with Coach K, but what they did as players.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys were all great players.
Yep. 83-80, Notre Dame leading Duke. Notre Dame's won 3 of the last 4 in the rivalry, but none of those 3 came here. We've had 3 players put up career highs today: Colson and Astoria for Notre Dame, and the freshman Kennard for Duke.
This game might get to 100 each before regulation is over. Like that Monmouth-Iona game last night. How about that game? Monmouth-Iona was a great watch. A.J. English had 45 in that one. Justin Robinson, I think, had 29. There was a fight after the game. The Monmouth bench was in great form.
We're seeing numbers this year like we haven't seen in a long time. And it's been fun to see the ball go through the basket as much as it has this year. And that's the kind of game we've had today. Vastoria, not this time, and Plumlee down with a rebound.
And Marshall Plumlee's done a nice job in the last several possessions on the defensive glass. Notre Dame got a switch where they got Ingram guarding Colson, and they didn't go to him. Still a good shot.
Ingram for three. Tapped back out by Plumlee.
Well, Plumlee's done a really nice job the last few minutes on both ends on the glass.
Colson's got a tough matchup right now in Kennard.
They'll try to get some movement. I think get the ball to Kennard or get it to Ingram, guarded by Vastoria. But Kennard, Colson may be the better matchup to drive.
Allen drives on Pfluger, can't finish. Good defense there by Pfluger to force him wide of the basket.
A lot of body contact, but I think because Allen was going away from the basket and not into the contact, it's less likely you're going to get a call.
Colson with 28 today.
Ingram guarding Vastoria. You don't have to go at this matchup, but I think you got to be mindful of it.
Jackson stumbling, got rid of the ball just in time. One to shoot. Pfluger forces and hits.
Wow. Now they're going to look and see if he got it off on time. Mike Krzyzewski asking for the travel. I'll tell you what, the end of a shot clock. Bonzie Colson has hit a three with no time left, and now Rex Pfluger at a modern day high school in California.
They are looking at it now.
He got it off.
Sure looked like he did.
He got it off.
Yeah. This will also serve, this stoppage will serve as the under 4 media timeout, and he definitely got it off.
Now the crowd reacting to what they thought was a walk before the bucket. Boy, those two clock plays right at the end. First Colson and now Pfluger. Those are big plays.
Every auto insurance policy has a number.
And Doug, you're right, it is. The three is good for Rex Pfluger. They looked at it, and as you saw in the replay before we went to break, quite clearly he got it off in time. He had 12 points on the season coming into today. He's got 7 this afternoon. And Jones is fouled. If it's Jackson, and it is, it's his 4th.
They went right at Jackson, a little fake handoff. And then Matt Jones was isolated on the right side, and Jackson had both arms up but then reached down with the right. Just reached down and got a piece of his arm, and that's where Mike Krzyzewski put Jackson in a spot to pick that foul up, and he obliged.
Missed free throw by Jones.
And that means now with Jackson with 4 fouls, Ingram with 4 fouls, you know that Duke is going to try to go at Demetrius Jackson on every possession because he's the heart and soul of this team, and he's the one that has been breaking this Duke defense down at every opportunity.
Duke leaving some points on the line here in the second half. August working hard, but again can't finish around the rim.
He's missed 6 layups in this game.
Kennard, everything but the finish. He's headed to the free throw line. And if Mike Krzyzewski had to pick somebody to put on the line, this would be the guy. 4 for 5 today, 93% on the season coming into this game.
I mean, that puts him among the very best free throw shooters nationally. He's leading the ACC in free throw shooting. And boy, it really puts a lot of pressure on a defense when you know you can't foul because you're giving them away.
We're not talking about a small sample size. Coming into the game, 55 out of 59. And 5 for 6 today. Beecham back in for the Irish.
And he got off to a slow start this year. Remember the first several games, he couldn't buy a bucket. And you knew it was just a matter of time before he started knocking shots down with regularity. And he's doing that now. That gives him 30 in this game, I think.
It does. By far his season high. A trio of Notre Dame players now with 4 fouls. It's not just Jackson. Beecham's got 4, and Pfluger's got 4 as well. August is on the bench right now for Notre Dame.
Grayson Allen on Demetrius Jackson. He's just face guarding him. he's not helping at all. He's just staying with him, making it difficult for him to catch it. And Notre Dame's offense is out of sync because of it.
Vastoria the drive right at Plumlee. Plumlee got a piece of it. Duke ball. Allen in the corner. Count it. And it's a 1-point game. Timeout, Irish.
Marshall Plumlee has been doing a much better job in this second half of protecting the paint, protecting the rim. And that allowed Duke to get out in transition. And Grayson Allen is more dangerous. As good of a driver as he is way more dangerous as a catch-and-shoot threat. And you got to give Allen credit, not just for hitting that shot, not letting Demetrius Jackson get the ball in that last possession led to an empty possession for Notre Dame, where Duke was able to score off of that empty possession. That was a gigantic play.
Don't forget, Big Monday coming up, a great doubleheader. Syracuse is here at Duke, beginning at 7 Eastern. The Orange with a big road win at Wake Forest today. And then at 9 o'clock on the Big 12 country, it'll be Oklahoma and Iowa State. Buddy Hield, who is playing as well as any player in the country right now, as we take a look at today's Wendy's Wooden Watch. Hield and Niang, both of whom will be in that game Monday. Both are clear choices to be among the mid-season Wooden Watch 25. And Jay said earlier, if he had a vote, and if the vote was right now, Buddy Hield would be his National Player of the Year. This has been fun. 86-85, the Irish lead. Less than 2 minutes to go in regulation. Off a foot. Off August's foot, out of bounds. Back to Duke.
As Shannon Spake had said to start this second half, Duke needed to improve its ball screen defense. Zach August came with the ball screen, and a fabulous job by Grayson Allen in guarding Demetrius Jackson the last several possessions. He has been terrific in guarding the best player for Notre Dame and causing that turnover as August comes and tries to set the side ball screen. Just downing it or trying to ice it. That means just keep it to that side so you get on the high side and you force the ball to the corner. And when he tries to turn around, that actually went off of August's foot.
Yep.
When he tried to spin back.
And because there was less than 2 minutes to go in regulation at the time, they can look at that to make sure, and they did confirm rather quickly, it is Duke ball. Just the second turnover in the second half committed by Notre Dame. Duke has gotten a lot of minutes here out of Brandon Ingram after he picked up his fourth foul. He sat for a few minutes, but then Mike Krzyzewski brought him back in, and he has avoided the fifth and played very well here in the second half.
Duke's going to look to drive the ball, and they should. They've picked up 10 fouls on Notre Dame in the second half after getting 12 in the first.
Allen. Duke leads. Pfluger still in there at crunch time for the Irish. Jackson guarded by Allen with a shot clock down to 12. Jackson the drive. Jackson the pull-up. Notre Dame back on top. A friendly bounce for the Irish.
No surprise that it's Demetrius Jackson pulling up for that shot. Notre Dame doing a good job of moving the ball and running clock, but still at the end of it, Jackson had to make a very difficult shot and got it to roll off the rim and in. But Grayson Allen, the last several minutes, he's had a good game overall, but on both ends of the floor, just driving that matchup against Colson, and then the good footwork to get past the big guy and get to the basket. And Demetrius Jackson pulling up right there at the elbow, shooting over Grayson Allen. That was a big-time play by a big-time player. And we've seen a lot of that on both ends of the floor.
That basket broke a 7-0 Duke run. 88-87 Notre Dame, exactly a minute to go. Duke has the arrow. Notre Dame 2-2 in the league. Duke is 3-1 in the league. This is the only scheduled regular season matchup between these two. There will not be a return game up in South Bend. Duke looking for the lead as we enter the final minute.
Duke is Still going to look to drive. If they can kick it to an open shooter, that's fine. Got an isolation on the left side.
Ingram the kick. Allen gets all the way in and draws the foul. He will shoot a couple. August was upset, and his teammates ran over and said, don't get a technical here.
Well, he was fortunate there, and the referee is showing some poise and looking the other way.
The foul went on August, his third. Allen at the line for Duke. A very good free throw shooter.
And there is a lot of time left. 47.2 seconds. So if Duke's able to get this free throw to go down, that gives them a 1-point lead. And Notre Dame can think about going 2 for 1. I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll use the clock and try to get the best possible shot, which leaves Duke with potentially the last shot.
Mike Krzyzewski will use a timeout. Notre Dame's out of them. Duke will have one more after this one. Well, this may be the kind of year that it's going to be in the ACC. North Carolina is the only undefeated team in a conference play right now. But so many games are so tough. Very few easy wins of any description in the ACC. Notre Dame has not done well in close games. They've lost 3 by 4 points or fewer. They're 0-3 in games decided by 4 points or fewer, including the losses you saw there to Monmouth, Alabama, and Indiana. But this has been a game where 2 minutes in, you were kind of saying, I wonder if Notre Dame can hang in there. They were down 8-0. But as you used the boxing analogy earlier in the game, these two teams have been trading haymakers all afternoon.
Yeah, and Notre Dame's issues this year haven't been their ability to score. This team can score. They can score with anybody. The question is getting key stops and sustaining throughout the course of a game. And that's something they're searching for. They're still working on that. But hey, on the other end, Duke's given up 88 in this one too. It's not like Notre Dame's alone in that.
89-88 Blue Devils. 47 seconds to go. The Irish with the ball. The Blue Devils with the arrow. Notre Dame without a timeout.
And you know that Notre Dame is going to be looking for Demetrius Jackson and perhaps a ball screen action. And as the defense reacts, kick it to an open shooter. One of the keys here is Bonzi Colson, because Colson has done a great job on the offensive glass. This is one of those games where a second shot can be the difference.
Grayson Allen on Demetrius Jackson. Jackson sheds him, finds the cutter, and Colson count the basket and a foul.
Well, what a play. Had a double high ball screen. And instead of coming off of it, he got Marshall Plumlee onto him. Just gave a little juke move, and Colson just dove to the basket with Kennard coming over from the right-hand side. He was just late getting there and allowed Colson to finish that play. Bonzi Colson, you thought, hey, he might be a problem on the offensive glass. He was a problem on that dive. That was a great roll to the basket by Bonzi Colson.
Remember, Colson didn't even start the game today. Came off the bench for the second game in a row, second time all season. But he's got 30 today for the Irish. Make it 31, 7 better than his previous career high set against Indiana back in December. 2-point game. 33 seconds to go. 5-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock.
I think you have to drive it here. Another isolation for Ingram.
Jones misses the three. Ball still loose, and it comes down to Vestoria.
Well, how about Pfluger getting in there and grabbing that ball?
And finally, the foul will send Jackson to the free throw line.
Didn't like the shot. I'm not sure how Mike Krzyzewski felt about it, but while Matt Jones can knock that shot down, in this situation, I think you want to drive the ball. I think you want to get to the rim, give Notre Dame an opportunity to foul, and then if you kick it out for a step-in three, it's a different story. They give Notre Dame a lot of credit. That was a good defensive possession. They stayed solid.
This is 1-and-1 here for Jackson.
And Notre Dame really shot free throws well against Georgia Tech in their last win. They were 11 of 12 down the last 2 minutes. And like Ray said, they didn't even work on free throws. They hadn't been shooting them well. They decided not to work on it. It worked out pretty well.
That's coaching. 2 huge makes for Jackson. 4-point game. Beecham in for Pfluger. 12.8 seconds to go.
Notre Dame doesn't want to give up a three here. Play good defense without fouling, but you don't want to give up a three.
Ingram misses the lay-in. Plumlee with a follow. And Mike Krzyzewski will use a timeout with 4.8 seconds to go. 93-91. What a game here this afternoon.
And Notre Dame has come into this arena where they were blown out last year. 30-point loss with a team that ultimately went to the Elite Eight and barely lost to Kentucky. And they've come in this year. Last year, Mike Brey said even his best players were shell-shocked. And they weren't shell-shocked in this one. 31 points for Bonzie Colson. Demetrius Jackson controlled the pace of play all game long. He's had 24. And Steve Astoria, the best defender, 22 points and 6 rebounds. You come into this building and do that. That's big time.
And I seem to remember you saying off the top of the telecast that whichever team could find a third scorer would have an excellent chance to win the game. And you mentioned Jackson and Vastoria. Colson has been that third scorer, although he's been the leading scorer with 31. By the way, Clemson beat Miami today. Clemson is now 5-1 in the league. Third straight win over a ranked opponent. There's the foul again on Jackson. And he will go to the line basically with a chance to ice it if he can make both. How about the Clemson Tigers and Brad Brownell's team now 5-1 in the ACC?
And early on in the season, Clemson dropping games here and there, having a difficult time scoring. They're not as good defensively. Brad Brownell felt wasn't getting contributions as he expected from Dante Grantham as a sophomore. But Deron Blossomgame, who had been injured, has played terrific basketball. Jordan Roper's been terrific. For them to start out, 5-1 now. That's really an amazing accomplishment for Clemson.
Virginia Tech won at Georgia Tech today. They're 4-1 in the ACC. Carolina won again, beat State in Chapel Hill, 5-0 for the Tar Heels. This is 1-1 again for Jackson.
Missed it.
August with a rebound. And finally the foul as August somehow got that rebound over Marshall Plumlee.
Wow. Boy, a second slot rebounder, and that's going to drive any coaching staff crazy. When that ball was short, it didn't bounce up, it bounced down. And Marshall Plumlee just didn't get a good block out on Zach August.
And August may have had trouble finishing around the rim, but let's give him some credit for 14 rebounds today.
Everybody for Notre Dame did their jobs to be able to come into this place after what happened last year and put up this kind of performance and get a win. That is a big time performance for Mike Brey. You hear some people say, you went on the road in the ACC, that's worth 2. I don't know that's worth 2. It's worth 1. But they're few and far between, especially in this building. Notre Dame's got to be very proud of the effort they put forth.
Notre Dame comes into Cameron Indoor Stadium and walks out of here with a win. What a performance by the Irish as they beat Duke 95-91. Both teams are now 3-2. Coming up next, West Virginia, Oklahoma. Let's go right to it in Norman. Dave Fleming and Miles Simon.